to be able to let them experience it all the way through their death, so to speak. And everybody was so happy when they made that step to the other side.
When you step, there's no other thing you can do but step that way. It's the only way to step. The choice is not ours now. It's out of our hands.
If you have a body that's been crippled, suddenly you have the kind of body that you want to have.
A little rest.
It feels good. You've never felt so good, family, I tell you. You've never felt so good is how that feels.
It's hard. Only at first is it hard. It's hard only at first. Living, you're looking at death. Living is much, much more difficult. Raising up every morning and not knowing what's going to be the night's bringing. It's much more difficult. It's much more difficult.
I just want to say something to everyone that I see that is standing around and crying. This is nothing to cry about. This is something we should all rejoice about. We should be happy about this. They always told us that we should cry when you're coming into this world. Well, when we're living it peaceful, I think we should be happy about this. I was just thinking about Jim Jones. He just has suffered and suffered and suffered. He is the only God, and he don't even have a chance to enjoy himself here. And I wanted to say one more thing. This is one thing I want to say. There's few that's gone. It's many more here. That's not all of us. That's not all yet. That's just a few that has got a chance to get to the one that they could tell their story to, their lives to. So I'm looking at so many people crying. I wish you would not cry and just thank Father. Just thank him. I've been here about...
She said, thank Father. I wish you would thank Father. Come back to me. It says, I wish you would thank Father. And then I let it go almost to the end. I'm not going to let it go to the end. But she started saying she wanted to thank Father. And there's going to be a bunch of them that's going to say, thank you, Father, and thank you, Dad. Now, that's what's going on with this guy, Commanding General Yohana. He got those guys under him thinking that those guys, that Yohana is their father, and that they're the children of Yohana. Because the way they brainwash you is incrementally, by steps. Inculcation. Power of suggestion. So I'm going to play a little bit more and then we're going to come back.
Here are 1 year and 9 months. And I never felt better in my life, not in San Francisco, but until I came to Jonestown. I've enjoyed this life. I've had a beautiful life. And I don't see nothing for us to be crying about. We should be happy. At least I am. Let's sing some little things.
Wouldn't be alive today. I'd just like to thank Dad because he was the only one that stood up for me when I needed him. And thank you, Dad.
I'm glad you're my brothers and sisters, and I'm glad to be here. Okay.
Please, for God's sake, let's get on with it. We've lived as no other people have lived and loved. We've had as much of this world as you're going to get. Let's just be done with it. Let's be done with the agony of it. It's far, far harder to have to watch you every day die slowly. And from the time you're a child to the time you get gray, you're dying. Dishonest, and I'm sure that they'll pay for it. They'll pay for it. This is a revolutionary suicide. This is not a self-destructive suicide. So they'll pay for this. They brought this upon us, and they'll pay for that. I leave that destiny to them. Who wants to go with their child has a right to go with their child. I think it's humane. I want to go. I want to see you go, though. They can take me and do with me whatever they want to do. I want to see you go. I don't want to see you go through this hell no more.
Yeah, so with that,
no more, no more, no more.
I'm going to turn it off. Now, I want you to get that thing on Jim Jones and CIA operative. And that's what these devils are doing, man. They're getting our people messed up because of the Hebrew Israelite thing. They said, you know what? We're going to have to get plants out there, spies out there, to keep them from the true teachings of Israel. That's why you got Nate out there. That's why you got Johanna out there. That's why you got Comfy out there. That's why you got Bubble Eyes out there. And then other obstacles is this black consciousness bullshit. And I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again. There's going to be mass death in America. And we're that close. We're that close to the destruction of this system. And you, Jake, said, are not of the elect. Hey, too bad. You ain't going to make it. We'll see you on the other side.
Is this the one?
I don't know. I didn't go to. I just went to Google. What does it say?
What the media won't tell you. Jim Jones was a CIA operative.
Go to that one.
It says, what the media won't tell you, Jim Jones was a CIA operative conducting mind control experiments. The Jonestown Massacre. On November 18th, 1978, 913 people died in Jonestown, a small compound carved out of the jungles of Guyana, a small country on the northeast coast of South America. The media at the time reported that it was a fanatical group of followers of the Reverend Jim Jones led to the jungles of South America to get away from the oppression of life here in America. They also reported that his followers willingly followed their leader into the great beyond by sipping on some cyanide cocktails laced with purple Kool-Aid. In fact, the notion of a mass suicide at Jonestown has been repeated so many times that it is accepted as fact, and the association is so strong that when most people hear Jonestown, the first thing which pops into their head is Kool-Aid. This association is false. The source of the Kool-Aid suicide stories was the U.S. State Department, which presented the story immediately after the suicides were reported as though it was the only obvious truth. A U.S. Army spokesman pronounced with complete authority, no autopsies are needed. The cause of death is not an issue here. The bodies were then allowed to rot in the jungle. Despite the lack of need for autopsies, Dr. C. Leslie Mutu, the top Guyanese pathologist, was at Jonestown hours after the deaths and refusing the assistance of U.S. pathologists accompanied the teams that examined the bodies. His conclusions: Dr. Mutu found fresh needle marks in the back of the left shoulder blades on 80 to 90% of the victims. Others had been shot or strangled. A surviving witness stated that those who resisted were forced by armed guards to comply. Dr. Mutu's opinion and that of the Guyanese grand jury investigating Jonestown was that all but three, only two of which were suicides, were murdered by persons unknown.
Yeah, so that's it on that. That's it on that. So you can see that Esau is always setting up these experimental programs, all right, among the black community. Now, I'd like you to give me, and we're going to close on this, Galatians 2, and start from the second verse and read down to the fifth. We might go past that.